just not ready for camp. Maybe we'll just send Jonathan next year.
Hey, maybe you should try a new camp next year. Why don't you send him to that Y camp I went to? Great time.
You mean that camp where the boys don't remember the names of the girls they kissed?
Oh, come on, Angela. Why are you still bugged by this?
I'm not bugged by this. I would just like to know. I already know. I would like to be sure who it was and who it wasn't.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's go up to Makeout Rock.
Kissing Rock. What good is that going to do?
Well, after I kissed her, not you, I carved her name, not yours, in the rock.
You did?
Yeah.
How very sweet.
How you know?
For her. Not me.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome back to Ayo. Away. The Who's the Boss podcast.
Nice.
I'm Tori.
I'm Kevin.
And we are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss. And we are now on season 2.
Yeah.
Woo!
How many episodes or how many podcasts is that? Because I know one of them was a 2-parter, just like this one.
Oh, yeah. That's a good question, actually. I think this is our 20...
Oh, God. I put you on the spot. I thought you knew the answer.
No. Hang on. I think this is technically our 21st podcast.
Yeah, because there were 20...
Yeah, because there were 2-parters in season 1, right? Or was there just one?
I don't know.
No, you know what?
You'd think we'd know.
There was just one. Okay, so this is our 21st.
I thought there was just one.
This is our 22nd podcast.
Okay, that's pretty good. We're still doing it.
I know. We are still here.
During a pandemic with homeschooling.
Oh, dear.
And tons of animals. And
I know.
We're still doing it.
Yeah. All right, so today we're going to discuss It Happened One Summer. And this is a 2-parter. So we're going to discuss both episodes in this episode. Part 1 aired on September 24th, 1985. And the original TV guide summary says, Angela retrieves a homesick Jonathan from camp and recalls her first adult kiss with a boy from the same camp where Tony spent his summers. So do you think by adult that means tongue was involved? She mentions grown-up kiss a few times.
I guess kiss that mattered.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
But I guess if you're...
What's an adult kiss? How old do you have to be?
I don't know.
18?
I'm just thinking it means that tongue is involved. And if you're... we find out that it took 57 seconds. So if you're there for 57 seconds and your tongue isn't involved, right? Then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like Michael on The Good Place, you're just mashing your food holes together.
Right.
This is what he says.
Yes.
Now, this episode was written by Martin Cohen and Blake Hunter, who are also the creators of the show. So they wrote this season opener.
Oh, they should have. This 2-parter that's very intense.
Yes, definitely. They jump right back into the sexual tension in season 2.
Yes.
Like picking up strong for where we left off on season 1. So when this episode opens, Angela is finishing up with a cleaning crew of 6 men.
Right.
So it takes 6 men to do the job of Tony Micelli. And once again, she's wearing her...
What I get out of this part of the episode is that she just didn't have the house clean the whole time Tony was gone.
Yes.
How long?
3 weeks.
Yeah, she just didn't, and then quickly had a crew come in and just
was like, oh dear God, this place is a dump. Right. And they're coming through with all sorts of equipment.
I know.
Like industrial vacuums, step ladders.
It's a hazmat scene.
Yeah, seriously. There was a murder while Tony was gone. And again, wearing her relaxing outfit of a button-down.
And the glasses are so far out of control.
Yes, they are.
Again, about 40 or 50% of her face.
But she is a little more relaxed because if you notice, the collar is not popped.
Oh, true.
Yeah. But she's
actually showing a little skin, right?
She is.
It's unbuttoned.
Yeah. She's waiting for Tony to get home.
Really, laid back summer Angela.
So she's she's asking the cleaning guy, did you clean that behind the fridge? Did you buff the floors in the closet?
Right, whatever that.
Yeah, that's something Tony
I haven't
does.
done that in a while, actually.
Forever. Did you get the bugs out of the light fixture in the garage? Now, that's a good one because I feel like people do forget about that.
Yeah.
And he asked, who do you have coming over? Tony Randall. And I forgot to look that up. Do you know who Tony Randall is? He's a singer, right?
I think he's a singer.
Okay.
I think he's a singer.
But
I'll look it up, but I didn't even catch that one.
He's like, I guess just making the joke of like she has somebody famous coming over. Oh, okay.
Tony Randall's an American actor.
Okay.
Comedian and singer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he plays Felix he's the other part of the Odd Couple.
Oh, okay. Right. So we've had both men now from the Odd Couple.
Tony Randall. You would recognize him if you saw him.
Yeah. Okay. So she wants to make sure the house is perfectly clean because Tony and Samantha are coming home from a 3-week vacation in Florida.
Right.
And she also tells the head of the cleaning crew, it's beautiful there this time of year.
No, it's not.
I know. So this episode aired.
All lies.
This episode aired September 24th, but if it's still summer, like I think the actual episode would take place in August,
right?
Because Samantha and Jonathan are not in school,
right?
Florida, is the fires of hell in August. We used to live there. We grew up there.
Yeah.
Not beautiful. Don't let anyone ever tell you that. Yeah. If you want to go to Disney World for a family vacation, go in January or February. Any other time of year, you're going to hate your life.
You go there in the summer, and it's like being in a fire, and then someone pours boiling water on top of you. That's what being in Florida in the summer's like.
It is a horrible. And I'm sure even in 86, it was still bad. Yeah.
I remember
not
as a kid.
bad now, but yeah.
The humidity.
It's so bad. Okay,
it's like walking through melted butter.
all lies, Angela. Not beautiful that time of year.
Nice time of year. Inside.
So she's still rambling on to the cleaning guy about how wonderful Tony is when he just leaves. He's done with her.
Right, doesn't care.
Yeah. So she goes back in the living room. She notices there's a spot on the table behind the couch, spits on her shirt, and starts to try to wipe it. I know, it's so disgusting.
And aggressively wipe it.
Right.
Unlike very un-Angela-like.
Yes.
To be spitting and then wiping it with her furniture. Fancy clothes.
Right. And that's just when Mona comes in and is like, what are you doing?
Right. You two want to be alone? That was actually funny.
Yeah. And she's
what is she doing to that table?
I just don't want... She's like, Tony's on his way back, and I don't want him to come in here and say, oh, this place looks like a grease pit. Now, our daughter, loved that part, and so we got her to do the soundbite.
Hey, this place looks like a grease pit.
I don't know if anyone else is going to think that's funny, but I think it's pretty cute. She says that. So Mona's like, what you're really worried about is that Tony's going to know that you can't manage or think that you can't manage without him for a few weeks. And she's still like teasing Angela when the door opens and Samantha comes home. So Samantha's excited to be home. They're excited to see her. Mm-hmm. She's excited to see them. But Angela's like, oh, where's Tony? And she says he's out still unloading the van. So Mona asks...
I will say this.
Yeah.
There is, and when we do this show, I kind of play the episode on my computer. There is a scene, can you see this? Mm-hmm. Watch when Samantha comes in. Look at Angela here. She is in the background still adjusting
her clothes.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that when we watched the episode?
I didn't notice that, no.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, because she had pulled her shirt out, so she probably had to tuck it all back in.
Like, what's going on?
Oh, yeah, she's still in the background.
I know, because Tony's coming
because
in.
She's trying to look... Oh, I didn't catch that.
Tony. I didn't either till right now.
Yes, she's like trying to make sure...
She's still fixing herself up after she spit on her shirt and tried to clean the table. Because Tony's coming in, who is wearing a sleeveless Mickey Mouse shirt.
Yeah, okay, so wait, we're not there yet. Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So Mona asks Samantha if they went where the boys are. Did you know what that reference was?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I looked it up.
Spring Break?
Yes, so it is
as a guess.
It's a movie from 1960, based on a book of the same name, also from 1960. I didn't realize that they made books and movies that close together back then. Like now, that seems a little more of a thing. And it's about college co-eds who spend spring break in Fort Lauderdale, and it dealt with a lot of like trying to decide if they were going to have premarital sex and stuff. God. Like a lot of like,
Mona. Very Mona.
Well, yes, it is very Mona, but I just think that's kind of an interesting. I want to see that movie now and see like how they actually dealt with that.
After,
I know,
Lost
Weekend. I know we got a few on the list. There's another one actually in this episode that I'll remember when we get to. So yes, so that was a reference to the 1960s movie called Where the Boys Are.
I did not catch that at all. I just figured she was asking her, did you go where the boys are?
Right. And so I guess that means, did you go to Fort Lauderdale or did you go to the beach?
Right.
And Samantha says, I wanted to, but guess where Dad wanted to go.
Right. Then enters Tony.
Yes. Enters Tony.
Doing a horrible Mickey Mouse imitation.
I know, but it doesn't matter because he looks so darn cute.
I know,
that
with his little Mickey ears.
Mouse.
And
yes.
Sleeveless. Because they didn't sell a sleeveless Mickey Mouse shirt. He bought the Mickey Mouse shirt and immediately somehow cut the sleeves off.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. Did he, because, Tony doesn't make a lot of money, okay? And this trip already was a 3-week vacation to Disney World. So now he bought a shirt that was probably at the time $29.99, and that was...
No, it wasn't that expensive then.
Really? You think? $19.99? Yeah, whatever would be the equivalent of $35.99, which is what a t-shirt would be now. And then brought it back to the hotel and immediately cut the sleeves off, right?
Acquired scissors or some kind of sharp object.
Unless they sold that because it was like a cool
Maybe
muscle.
you know what? You're probably right.
So maybe they've sold it that way.
I feel like maybe I haven't seen that shirt or something like that.
And his little Mickey ears.
I know.
So I was thinking about this too.
Which again are not cheap.
No, not at all. And I was thinking that this was probably Tony's first time to Disney World. And was probably something he had wanted to do for a long time because... Like, we grew up in Florida, but if you didn't grow up in Florida...
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, going to Disney World was a big deal. Is a big deal.
Like, I went, when I was a kid, I went once a year.
Yeah, same here.
We would go once a year, and that was a big deal, but I lived an hour away.
Right. Yeah, for a family that has to take, like, an actual vacation to go there. Like, now we live near Disneyland, not that it's open, but, our kids have been to Disneyland more times than I can count. But...
Oh, yeah.
For children who don't live close to it, and even like if we do take our kids to Disney World at some point, they'll probably go once because it is a trip across the country for us now as well, even though they're familiar with Disneyland. So I just thought that was cute because Tony's probably he seems like a Disneyland kind of guy. Disney World kind of guy.
Right.
And he's probably wanted to go for a long time. So Tony's making a big show of how much he missed Mona. And then when he gets to Angela... It's like a very proper handshake.
Right.
But they're both like trying to play it cool about how they missed, each other, not really letting on. But like, Tony's just kind of staring at her body. If you notice.
And does he make a comment?
Well, he says you haven't aged at all in the past 3 weeks or something. Right. And she makes some comment about not staying out of the sun. But
he's like, I can tell or something.
Yeah.
He says something like that there. Anyway.
But it's just like I don't know, it's like he's just staring like at her boobs instead of her face for most of the conversation, which is interesting because, like I said, they're really kind of ramping this up, the sexual tension, fast in the second season here. So they're just kind of awkward and cute. And he walks away and immediately says,
"Hey, this place looks like a grease pit."
And I love, if you know, it happens really quickly, but look at Angela's little damn.
Right.
And it's so cute because she tried so hard. So the phone rings, and you brought this up. I don't think that phone has been there before.
Yeah. No, that's the first I've noticed the phone there.
Yeah, so I guess in the first season they didn't have the phone there, but now...
She got a phone while Tony was gone.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, a living room phone.
Right, living room phone. Yeah, and that will be there for the rest of the series because I do remember that phone being there in other scenes. And on the phone, so Jonathan is at summer camp, and on the phone is the camp counselor, Mr. Wormser, letting Angela know or making sure that she's going to be there for Parents' Weekend because he thinks she might have to bring Jonathan home because he's not enjoying himself at all.
Right.
And... Yes. So she gets off the phone, lets them know that, and Mona's like, what is wrong? What is wrong? And she's like, well, he misses his mommy.
Right.
And Mona says, why?
Right, she doesn't understand
it. I know. So Tony suggests that if she's going up for Parents' Weekend, they should bring something for him that will make him feel better. And he means the entire family.
Right.
And Mona puts on the Mickey ears. So I don't know if you noticed this, when Tony comes in the door... he throws the Mickey ears down on the bench and then comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Katherine Hellman go behind, and she picks them up and brings them back over to the couch.
Right, but doesn't do anything with them.
Right, until that last scene.
Right.
But I just love little actor things in the background like that, because she obviously knew she needed those ears for the next part. So she just kind of quietly went and got them and then brought them over to the couch. So
yeah, that is funny.
we see them, and you get like this cool aerial early
like
80s
police chase looking
shot
pursuit.
of a car. It also kind of reminded me of the movie Vacation.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Yes.
It looks like the family truckster.
Right. So it's like this.
And it's just like going down like it's on the side of a mountain or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're in Connecticut, so they're
dirt road.
They don't really say where this camp is, but there's a lot of mountains and kind of hilly areas,
Of course,
in the Northeast. So yeah, so then they're all in the car, and of course they make it seem like Samantha's been asking to eat lunch and go to the bathroom, but really, it's Mona.
Yeah.
And I noticed a clever way they got away with not having to green screen this, because they packed the back seat of the car, the trunk,
with 14 coolers.
Yeah, so you don't see out the back,
Not
and then
really,
they kind of just
but-
shot it tight enough so that you can't see out the windows. And then I think someone's just rocking the car around.
Right, and then there are close-ups where you can see outside the car, and it's just not moving.
Right, outside
On the
Angela's
close-ups
side.
of Angela, can't see anything moving. But
It's interesting, too, that Angela's driving.
yeah. Mm.
I guess, yeah. I guess Tony won't. It seems like he drives her when she goes to the train or whatever, but I like that. So they. Oh, yeah. So Angela decides, okay, let's sing.
Kumbaya.
Of course. And it's just a terrible rendition of Kumbaya.
It's just her. It's terrible.
Yes. And then Tony's like, if we're going to sing camp songs, let's sing a good one. Okay. So now this song that he starts singing
Oh, it's a real song.
So as far as I can tell, it is a camp song.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Probably not sung at camp anymore, because the lyrics are, and there was Lonnie swinging on the outhouse door without her nightie.
Yeah, it was...
Which Angela, you can tell, is annoyed by the line. And then it's
And
all the boys
were there, yeah.
all the boys were asking for more. Okay. So when I tried to look this song up, the only lyrics I could find was, and there was Grandma swinging on the outhouse door. And then she lost her nightie, and Grandpa was asking for more. So I can't decide which one of those is more disturbing.
I know. Well, the fact that hey kids, let's teach you a song, right. And this girl swinging on the outhouse door, and the boys were asking for more.
Yeah, so that's so 80s.
And then yeah.
So then
what
by
just
the
happened
time
in the outhouse?
But then by the time they get to eat lunch, they're all singing it. Angela's in on it.
Yeah.
Samantha's singing it, and they're just going around saying each other's names.
Yeah, a swinging on the outhouse door. And the boys were asking for more.
Door. Yeah. So, Angela.
But then when they get to Mona, and they say that the boys were asking for more, she adds the line, "But can you blame them?"
Yes,
of course, because it's Mona.
Yes, but
because
excellent
Mona,
singing voice, Katherine Hellman.
Yeah, but yes, I noticed that too.
So Angela's like, I doubt you ever learned that song at camp. And Tony says that he, in fact, did learn that song at camp because he went to a YMCA camp that was right by where Jonathan's camp is.
Right. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. And Angela says, really? Because I went to Jonathan's camp. And she remembers the Y camp where the rowdy boys across the river. So they discover that they were probably there around the same years. Time. Yeah, 64, 65. So Mona suggests, well, maybe you guys knew each other. And Tony's like, no, because those girls never gave us the time of day. And Angela's like, well, that's not really true. You know, we thought that they were rowdy, but we did kind of find them intriguing. And she
They were referred to as camp stuck up.
Oh, yes. Angela's camp was. Yes.
Right.
Which she's proud of. She's like, yes, that was me.
Yeah.
And so she gives an indication that she's remembering something, and so is Tony. And Samantha's like, tell us more, tell us more. And so Angela says that she had her first grown-up kiss, which, again, I'm guessing means tongue, with a boy from that camp. So Samantha wants her to tell the story, and she basically says...
And then the boys were on the wrong side of the lake.
Right.
I like that, like the wrong side of the tracks. What does that mean, the wrong side? What's the wrong side of the lake?
Yeah, it's the poor side, I guess. The YMCA side.
That's true.
The side that had to sell candy bars or whatever to raise money so that they could go. Tony's sales pitch was that he wouldn't be hanging around people's cars if he was at camp.
I know. Right. If I go to camp, I won't be messing with people's cars.
Exactly. So Angela says that there was a place right by the lake called Kissing Rock. And they flash back to a young Angela.
I know.
And her story is like so romantic and dramatic with the way she's setting it up. So we see a young Angela in the woods. And then Sam asks Tony if he did stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, kind of, except we called it Makeout Rock.
Right. And not Kissing Rock.
Right, no. And he said that he did make out with someone from Angela's camp. So Angela's all like, you're making it sound so tawdry and stuff, and kind of like getting annoyed with him. But he says that the girl he kissed was the greatest and that he'll never forget her. Sam asks what her name was, and Tony says, I don't remember. But he does remember that she was a great kisser. So they also flash back. We see a young Tony in the woods, and he's saying that the girl was tall and awkward, but there was just something about her. So Sam's saying, these stories sound alike. Now, I was thinking about the two kids so I looked up the two kids who play a young Angela and a young Tony, and both of them only did like 2 or 3 things and then didn't act anymore. But I just think that's funny, like, if you're a grown adult with like a regular job, is that just like a thing you pull out at parties or that game where like tell 2 truths and a lie, and like one of yours is always I was on the boss as a kid.
That's what a great observation that is. It's so true.
Because it just has to be like at a party, you just tell like an interesting story. Yeah, when I was 13, I was on an episode of Who's the Boss.
Like, tell me something interesting about yourself. I was in one episode of Who's the Boss. But
I guess maybe
walked through the woods.
So our daughter was in a independent film that's on Amazon Prime, and if she never does any acting besides that, which we don't pursue at all, then that will be like her thing, I guess. Like, she's prominently in a movie.
Yes, yeah.
One movie from when she was like 6 months old.
Yes.
So, I just thought that was interesting. That's got to be funny for a kid, and you
said both of them. Neither one of them went on to do anything.
Yeah, no, neither.
Young Tony and young Angela.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 things each, and like way in the early 80s, and then that was it. So, Samantha and Mona start to wonder if this could have been Tony and Angela. And Aunt Mona's getting very dramatic about the idea, like, now a great force has brought you 2 back together. You work for her, and who would have known that you would have ever met again as an adult? And they're like, no, that's silly. And Angela says, I know it's not him, because unlike him, I remember the name of the first boy I kissed, and his name was not Tony, it was Anthony.
Anthony, bum, bum, bum.
No. It's like, you think she would have put that one together a little sooner. So now we're at the camp, and Jonathan's talking to the camp psychologist, and he's trying to figure out why Jonathan's not having any fun at camp. So this actor is Richard Sanders, best known as Les Nessman from WKRP in Cincinnati. I've never really seen that show. I know you liked it.
All of the episodes.
Really?
Yeah, I love that.
Try
Les
that show
Nessman.
someday.
There was what's that?
Maybe I just love the way you said, I love that Les Nessman.
Yeah, I do. He was funny.
Really?
It was a good show. He made the show. He had his thing was like, I'm Les Nessman and I witness the weather, and his thing was that he looks outside and witnesses the weather.
Really?
Like, I witnessed the weather. And then he would do because it was like a poor radio station, WKRP, and he would do a thing where he was like, now it's time to go up to the chopper and do the chopper report, and then he would bang on his chest like this, and then do it. I don't know. It was like, silly sitcom humor.
Now, that was from the 70s, right?
Yeah, it was early, like late 70s into the early 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was before this.
I'll have to
So
check
he was
out
already
that.
Les Nessman when he did this.
Right, yes, definitely. Okay.
Anyway.
So the other boys come into the cabin, and they make fun of Jonathan because he's not having any fun, and they just kind of think he's a weirdo, and they, are making fun of him for wanting to go home and stuff.
Well, now, before we get into that, you didn't really mention, like, the leading up to going into the cabin, the shot with the deer.
Oh, yes.
There was, like, a set shot outside, and there's a little...
Yeah,
is that a deer? What is that one?
Yeah, it is a deer. These outdoor-indoor sitcom sets, to me, are always so fascinating. And then
this one's interesting because there are trees.
Yeah, like it's really detailed.
And there are, but I mean, it's obviously a set. There's no way this is outside. The way it looks.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But then there's just like a little deer walking around the outside of the cabin, which it would never be there. Obviously.
I can't imagine that this is their normal set. Like, there's no way this stuff was shot in front of the audience. They probably either used a soundstage that had this already set up, or
they
built
just
this.
Built it or set it up.
I mean, this. Yeah. I would imagine like now the show's pretty popular, so they probably got some money behind them because this is a pretty elaborate set for them to build for this one episode.
True.
Or 2 episodes, but one story. But yes, I remember there's an episode of Three's Company where they go camping, and I vividly remember I was always like in awe of the fake outdoor sets.
Too. There's a few of Three's Company like that, but yes.
And I feel like now sitcoms don't really do this. Like they just kind of
either
move
go
to an
outside
actual
or they don't.
Outdoor location. Yeah. But yeah, it's fascinating to me.
No, yeah, this was a thing then, but definitely not now.
They look like the back. Okay, so when you go to the Natural History Museum and you're in like the Hall of Animals, and there's like those fake. That's what these remind me of. Like,
but even those look better than this.
I know.
These
Like at some
awful.
point, you can see like the painted trees on a piece of wood in the background.
In some scenes, if you look closely, you'll see the painted areas moving around because they're
just
hanging,
like hanging curtains.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so where was I? Yeah,
I'm sorry. The psychiatrist is talking to.
Yeah, so the family gets there, and they're still kind of ribbing Tony and Angela, Samantha and Munar, about it being them that could have kissed at the Rock. Jonathan's super excited to see Angela. He wants to go home. They all want to take him home. They're saying that they'll leave in the next morning. But while they're there, Mona's like, well, let's go horseback riding and do some fun stuff. One of the fun activities she lists is looking for knot holes in the boys' shower.
I know. And she suggested to Samantha.
Oh, right. So, okay, first of all,
I know, so many things wrong here.
Yes, many things wrong.
So many red flags.
Yes. So, a grown woman is suggesting that they go look for knot holes in the boys' shower.
Right.
And even
underage
suggesting that
shower.
to the 13-year-old, these boys are still like 8. So many things wrong.
I know.
But
red flag city.
Just another one of those jokes that probably at the time, it just didn't seem as off as it does these days.
But now it doesn't land.
Now it just, does not land. Would not hear that joke today.
It's like, what? Wait, what?
And again, on the way out, Bob Wormser confuses Tony for being Angela's husband. Like, that, we should have a running tally of how many times that happens. But
right.
It's happened again. So Angela and Tony are asking him, like, why do you think Jonathan doesn't want to be here? And he's not giving him any good reasons. So Angela's like, well, maybe he's just not ready for camp. And Tony says, he's just not ready for this camp. Why don't you send him to a fun camp like the one I went to, and then he won't want to come home. And
the one on the wrong side of the lake.
Right. Yes. And Angela's still sore about the fact that Tony doesn't remember the name of the girl he kissed. So she's like, oh, yeah, it's full of boys who kiss girls and then don't remember them. And Tony's like, why are you still hung up on this? And she's saying that she knows it wasn't her, but she just wants to know for sure that it wasn't her. And he's like, well, we can find out if it was you because I carved the name of the girl that I kissed in the rock. Which I mean, do you think that you could find a carving you wrote on a rock?
No. I don't think I could carve a name in a rock.
I know, right?
Trying to find it.
That would have taken a long time.
Here's what I'm going to need, a hammer and a chisel, and I'm going to be a while. Because you don't just carve a name in a rock and leave. It's not a tree.
Yeah.
Even a tree is hard to carve.
Right. And I feel like it would probably have, like, worn down off the rock. But, okay, we need it for the story. So, Jonathan's having more fun now that Samantha is there. And Mona, and Samantha are all out riding horses. Which, again, so they have this elaborate indoor-outdoor set. And now they have horses on it, 3 of them. And I know. It's good. I love Mona on the horse because her horse is not cooperating, and Katherine Hellman looks genuinely surprised when her horse starts going
back. It's almost like they didn't tell her it was going to go backwards and they just did it. Or maybe the horse just was like, I don't know where I'm at and I'm going backwards.
The thing about these...
But it's a funny scene.
It is. So the thing about these 2 episodes is, like, all of the camp stuff is just filler to break up the are they or are they not going to bang in the hotel room of these 2 episodes. So I feel like nothing that really happens on the camp is an actual storyline. It's just kind of like, I mean, there is a storyline, but it's not fantastic. It's just sort of breaking up the plot that everyone's more interested in.
So what you're saying is this could have just been a 1-parter, not a 2-parter.
It could have taken place mostly in this hotel room.
Right, but it just didn't need to be 2 episodes.
Yeah, no, probably not. Yeah, that's a good point. So...
With all the filler.
Tony and Angela decide that they're going to go look for the rock and see if they can find the names. Now, they're out there wandering around.
The weather's getting dicey.
Yeah. And, of course, Angela has no sense of direction. But, like, once Tony decides he's no longer going to follow her directions, they turn around and the rock's right there. So didn't they walk by the rock already?
Yeah, I think so. And the point is that she says it's this way, and he says, okay, then we're going this way, which is the complete opposite way. And then, lo and behold, there's the rock that is apparently easy to carve into.
I'm going to admit this about myself. So I'm terrible with directions. And sometimes, if I'm not sure, whatever way I think I'm supposed to go, I go the other way.
Oh.
Because I am so bad with direction.
Yeah, I believe that. Every word of that.
So...
we've lived here for almost 12 years.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for Waze, I
and you
wouldn't
still don't know where you're going at all.
Ever. Okay, so... they find the rock, they get to the rock, and now Tony's a little nervous. Like, should we look? What if it was us? What if it wasn't us? And Angela's like, well, if it was us, then we kissed twice. We kissed once when we were kids, and then we kissed when we were tipsy in the kitchen and you kissed me.
Right, of course.
And what does Tony say?
Well, he says that she's wrong and that...
They were blasted.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I thought you were going to remember that.
I did. You know what? I think I even have it written down. I get lost in my notes. Right. He says that they're...
Let me guess. You have just the word blasted written down?
Probably.
With
that happens.
Nothing else.
That happens where I'm like... I mean, I'm still looking. Like, why did I write this down?
But he's like, we were
There's some
blasted.
Pictures actually drawn on my notes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Don't look.
We were blasted and you...
Blasted is funny.
So... I like that they're bringing up the kiss from the season 1 finale, and then they're still playing on the you kiss me, no, you kiss me.
Right.
So there is a storm coming, so they get looking for the names. And you'll notice that Tony says, Mary Lou, Mary Lou, Mary Lou. And I'm pretty sure that is a tease to Mary Lou Henner. So do you know that he dated her when they did Taxi?
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah. So at the beginning of Taxi, they had like a 6-month affair. She writes about it in her book. And then after they broke up, which it was like a casual thing. I don't think they were very serious. Mm-hmm. She went on to date Judd Hirsch from the show also, and I believe somebody else from the show whose name I can't remember now. So I think that's just a joke about her having a lot of boyfriends.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but they're good friends. Like I think she would think it's funny, and I think he's just teasing her. So finally Tony does find his name, and it says Anthony loves Ingrid.
Ingrid.
Yes. So they're like, okay, well...
Ingrid.
Yeah, I know, that's it. What Angela says, Ingrid. So it wasn't them, and Tony's like, see, there's no unforeseen forces pushing us together. And right then, there's a giant thunderclap.
Right.
And Angela throws herself into their arms, and looks like they could have almost kissed, and it starts to rain. Now, meanwhile, back at the camp, the filler, Mona's telling the kids ghost stories in the cabin. And the rain is getting pretty bad. So Wormser comes over and tells them, like, the road's flooded, so you can't go anywhere. I don't know where they were planning to go. Maybe they were going to go to a different cabin.
Or a hike or something in the middle of the night.
Like, I don't know if the family was staying in a hotel or if they were staying there. I have no idea. So, but he lets them know that Mona and Samantha need to stay in the cabin that night, and he'll come back for them in the morning. So Jonathan's a little worried about, like, what's going to happen with Tony and Angela, but Mona's like, don't worry, Tony will know what to do, and right. Angela will be helped by Tony, basically.
Right.
So they do, Tony and Angela end up at a hotel, and this very tall motel manager...
It's actually a motel.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Not a hotel.
Motel, correct. And the motel manager is played by Vincent Schiavelli, I believe his name is.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's how you pronounce it. So I mean, he's been in a ton of stuff.
Yes.
And I know him mostly from, he was in an episode, well, I know him because he was married to the woman who was on Moonlighting, because when I was a kid, that was my favorite show. And then I know he's also in Ghost. And he is in an episode of The X-Files that I love too. But he has a ton of credits. And he was also in Taxi.
Yes. Oh, okay. So that's probably how maybe he got this role. I remember him from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, right. Yes.
He plays this science teacher.
Okay. And he passed away in 2005 at the age of 57.
Oh, young.
Yeah, he had some health issues that I think he had been dealing with for a long time. So he lets them into the motel room and lets them know that this is the presidential suite.
I know.
And it's like a dinky hotel room with 2 beds and like...
2 single beds.
Yeah, 2 single beds, nasty wallpaper that's like peeling everywhere, and... It's, nothing fancy. So now we have what they call in the romance writing world a one room trope. So there are like certain tropes that romance usually follows. And it's like, there's a few of them: marriage of convenience, situations where there's false pretenses, where the couple is forced to share a room, where the couple is forced to share a bed. So this is definitely the forced to share a room trope that they're going with here. And tropes aren't necessarily bad. It's just like, it's done often, but it's done because it's usually a silly situation that is funny. So this room does have 2 beds, but Angela is adamant that they cannot stay there. And Tony's like, I don't really understand, it's fine. Like, we
can't
sleep.
Stay in the same room.
Yeah, she's like, we cannot stay in the same room together. And Tony's like, it's fine. We live in the same house together all the time. It's just a room. It'll be fine. And he starts making these jokes of like, oh, it's not like I'm here with Ingrid. Like, if I was here with Ingrid, it would be a completely different story. Which prompts Angela to tell Tony...
I am Ingrid.
Yes, I am Ingrid. And she explains that she was nervous that the boy would kiss her and then go and tell his friends, and she didn't want him to use her real name because then she didn't want it to get back to all of her friends. So she made up that her name was Ingrid. And they go back to the flashback where we again see a young Tony and a young Angela, and they do kiss, and then Tony says, "It was you," and she says, "It was us." To be continued.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So another interesting thing about this is we hear a lot about how Angela was heavy when she was younger, but clearly the 13-year-old Angela was not heavy. So maybe that was something that happened later on in high school or college, because she definitely was tall and thin here and caught Tony's eye. Okay, so that is the end of the first episode.
Who's the Boss will be back in a moment. Stick around.
Ingrid. Kind of silly of me to lie about my name.
Yeah, well, don't feel so bad. If it makes you feel any better, I told a little white lie that night myself.
Oh?
Well, I knew you were 13, and I didn't know, I thought maybe you wouldn't go out with me if you knew that...
If I knew what?
How much older you were than me.
Older? How much older? How old were you?
I was 11.
My first grown-up kiss was with an 11-year-old?
Hey, wait a minute. I didn't hear you complaining that night. You hung in for 57 seconds.
Were you counting?
Angela, was I counting? What kind of guy you think I am? Would that be a little insensitive of me?
Well,
Bruce Weinberg had a stopwatch in the bushes.
All right, so now we're on to episode 2, part 2. And this episode aired October 1st, 1985. And the TV Guide summary says, Tony and Angela are stuck in the only available motel room while Mona and the campers plot a prank on Wormser, Richard Sanders. Okay, so...
Les Nesman.
This has an abbreviated open, which I guess they just needed... because
Way too much content.
Yes, and they have Mona kind of recap what happened in the first part, so they probably needed a little more time. So yeah, it was an interesting little abbreviated, cut open. Mm-hmm. Now Mona's writing in her diary. Apparently Mona carries a diary with her everywhere, and starts to recap what happened in the first episode. So at first, when I was watching this, I thought, how does Mona know any of this? But when I watched it again, I realized that they were pretty careful. So, what Mona is saying is just what she knows, but then the flashbacks that we're seeing is more than that.
Right, because she does say that they talk about kissing at the Rock.
Yeah.
And then Tony and Angela disappeared from camp.
Yeah, she said they disappeared, but she
then
doesn't
they show
say...
them saying, Angela, I found it, and he notices.
Right. So they show us that stuff, but Mona's not actually saying it. So it's not like Mona knows it.
So it's not far-fetched.
It's just filling in the blanks. Yeah. At first I thought it was a little odd. But, okay. So when we get to the hotel, Tony is wearing only a towel. They've hung up all of their wet clothes. And Angela comes out of the bathroom wearing only a bed sheet. And at first she doesn't want to come out. She's all shy about coming out. But she does, and she's wearing a bedsheet. And her hair looks all sexy messed up.
I know.
I think I like this hair better than any hair we've seen so far. And it's supposed to look bad, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. It's closer to how hair looks now and not 80s blown out.
Right. It's closer to actual hair.
Right.
Yeah.
It's her natural look. This is what it looks like when I just blow dry it and get out of the shower or whatever.
Right.
Which is why it looks so good.
Right. Yeah. It looks very natural.
But then it was probably oh my gosh.
Oh, your hair's all messed up. I don't know, though. It still kind of has a Farrah Fawcett-y sort of
That's true.
look to it. I think it was
the
still
hair and makeup
sexy.
department still spent a good amount of time on it to make it look like she just got out of the shower.
Probably. And I wonder how this worked, because I can't tell how much of this would have really been shot in front of a studio audience because of the stuff that happens later. But I know that Tony Danza like to keep the shooting on a tight ship, and so that would have been a difficult hairstyle to go to, although if they actually shot it in 2 separate studio audiences, maybe not. I don't know, I'm thinking too much because she had wet hair before that. But anyway, so he looks her up and down again in the fitted sheet, and he's like, that's what they mean by a fitted sheet.
Right.
Yeah. So Angela suggests that they hang up a blanket between the beds for privacy. Which
is so ridiculous.
I know. Like in It Happened.
And what is that strange wire hanging out of the wall anyway?
I don't know. Yes.
But I have spent the night in not a hotel room, but at somebody's house with another woman who I didn't have a relationship with. Mm-hmm. When I had two small beds. A couple of weeks ago. No, like...
I'm just kidding.
Probably like, I don't know, in the mid-90s. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, this was BT before Tori. But, we just slept in separate beds. And it was seriously like this, except the beds were along the wall.
Well, were you guys attracted to each other, though?
I don't know. I mean, I think...
You probably were.
Yeah. But the point is,
right.
I didn't make a move.
No,
I just slept in the bed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't have to hang up a curtain in the middle of the room. And
I know, but
it's just funny.
Like, we've already seen that.
Even if there's a sexual attraction, they don't have to put up a...
But as we've already seen, Tony was the only thing standing between them having sex in the last episode.
I get this.
So I really think Angela's trying to protect herself from herself because...
Well, at least they're not drinking.
True.
They're not blasted.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, she, thinks that they should hang up a little curtain, and she references the movie It Happened One Night, which, again, I have not seen. But Tony says that was the 30s, and, they're... 30s. And she says privacy never goes out of style.
I guess not. I guess she's right.
He's like, if you're worried about because of the kiss, just stop it. We were kids then, and we're adults now, and nothing's going to happen, and we'll be fine. So he suggests that they just hang out and have some fun, but not too much fun.
Right.
And he gets up from her bed. Now, the ridiculous towel that he's wearing, he couldn't find anything else to put on besides that little tiny towel.
I guess not. Everything's wet.
Yeah, I guess so. But she found a sheet. Right, he could have found a sheet. So they decide to watch some TV. Now...
Which... So ridiculous.
So they turn on the TV, and so... Okay, now we know that this couldn't be actual porn on the TV, right?
No, it would have to be Cinemax.
That's what I was thinking.
It's the running joke. I mean, that's back in the 80s. That's what you watched.
Right,
when you wanted to watch softcore pornography. It was Cinemax, which got its nickname Skinemax.
Right, yes. And what was it called? Was it After Dark
It's
or
Cinemax
something?
After Hours, I think?
Yeah,
or something. I think you're
like
right.
that.
Yeah, it was something like that.
So I remember being a kid... And I had a TV in my room, but I think Cinemax was scrambled. And I remember trying to watch the scrambled channel to see if I could see anything.
I remember spending a lot of my youth looking for scrambled boobs. There'd be a boob in the upper left and a boob in the lower right. I mean, I remember my friends telling me about that.
Oh my God. We might have to pause. I'm laughing so hard. Oh, okay. Yeah. So they must have landed on Cinemax, which is just hilarious. So they continue to watch this for way longer than you think they would. Now, I know that they don't have a remote control, and somebody's going to have to stand up to actually change the channel. And maybe Tony doesn't want to stand up right then. So they just continue to sit
Well, what's
there.
great about it is Angela turns her head sideways.
Right.
What is actually happening on the television that she has to look sideways.
And I'm sure this is the first time that Angela's seen anything like this, because she doesn't seem like the type that would be watching Cinemax on her own. So
you just said Cinemax.
I did. I think I did it on purpose. So then she's turning her head to the side. Then it seems as though a third person gets added into the mix, and now they're kind of getting invested in the storyline here. So they're continuing to watch until Tony's like, I think that we should turn this off. So they turn the television off.
It was called After Dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a point where they actually ditched the idea or it was literally called Cinemax After Dark.
Okay.
Or Skinemax.
I wonder what time the After Dark started. 10, 11?
Starting in 1984. I actually have the information right here.
Oh, no, I mean the actual time of day. When did After Dark start?
I don't know. That's a
probably
good
10 or
question.
11.
Yeah.
So now
We can do a whole nother episode on that.
Now Tony thinks it's a good idea that they put the sheet up between them. So they put the sheet up. Back at camp, Wormser comes in and lets Mona and Samantha know that Tony and Angela are safe.
Right.
And that they are both in room 12.
Right.
At the motel.
And he says that separately, also in room 12.
Right. Yeah, he's invested in their relationship already, and he's only known them for about a minute and a half.
Right.
So
a minute now. Mona's interested.
Oh, of course, yes. So Mona decides, when Wormser leaves, the kids are like, we need to prank him. And at first it seems like Mona's going to scold them, but instead she just wants in. So I didn't talk about the kids at all here or in the first episode. But
right.
There are 2 boys that are listed on Internet Movie Database, and one is Troy Slatton, who would be best known as playing on... What was the name of the show? Oh, Parker Lewis Can't Lie.
Oh, that's
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Yes,
Can't
that's
lose.
it.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm no help. You're like, what was the name of the show? And I'm staring at the ceiling right now.
And then, somewhere on your notes.
And I used to watch that show.
Right. Somewhere in your notes, it just says Swatch Watch.
I mean, I didn't watch it closely, but I remember seeing him on that show.
Yes. And so they also aren't clear about which boy is which, but I believe that he is the boy that makes... the comment to Samantha that he's going to need to share the same bed with her. I hear you turning your page over there.
And I'm hitting the microphone.
I know.
Sorry.
And then the other boy, whose name is Steven, was played by Christopher Burton. And Steven will be in another episode of Who's the Boss. He is in the episode Jonathan Plays Cupid. And I looked at his IMDb. Neither boy really work now. And Christopher is completely out of acting and is a pastor. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he would not approve of this episode.
Maybe, especially not the Cinemax part.
Yeah.
So they decide that they're going to prank Wormser. Now, again, this is all just filler to get us back to the hotel. So now back at the hotel, Angela's like, wow, there really isn't much to do in a hotel when you don't want to watch TV.
Right.
And Tony is in the middle of doing push-ups. Again, push-ups in that towel, not a good idea.
No, not a good look.
No. So, I mean, it is a good look. Let's just be clear.
Yes. I mean...
Not a good idea,
right.
But a good look. So somebody knocks at the door, and it is the motel manager again. I'm calling him that because I didn't give him a name. It's just motel manager. Vincent Schvelli.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't have a name.
Oh.
So he comes in and he's like, oh, am I interrupting anything? Because Tony's breathing hard and wearing a towel. And he's like, no, you did not. So he has a pair of pajamas in his hand and some socks. So he brought them his only pair of pajamas.
That apparently the motel has on hand.
Yeah. Well, no, they're his actual pajamas.
I guess he lives at the motel.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, probably. And he says he won't need them because he sleeps buck naked.
Right.
So he gives the pajamas.
Thanks for that information.
Right. Thank you. He gives the pajamas to Tony, and then he hands the socks to Angela. And he's like, I was going to find you some dinner, but we don't have any. So here's where my mind goes. For the rest of the episode, I keep thinking like, oh man, they're probably really hungry.
I know.
Because they missed dinner. And
they did.
Yeah, that's
they were out at Kissing Rock.
Yeah. So when the motel manager leaves, Tony's teasing Angela, and he's like, okay, let's go change. Meaning he's going to put on the pajamas and she's going to put on the socks. So he lets her have the top of the pajamas, and they go on either side of their curtain to go change. Again, like, why wouldn't you just go in the bathroom to change?
I don't know.
We wouldn't get this cute little
exchange where they're on each side of the curtain.
Right. And Tony's peeking.
Right.
He peeks twice. So they both change. And then the other thing I was thinking is, so they time it out perfectly where they both get dressed and then pick up the sheets and throw them, if you notice. And that was pretty interesting. Like, I wonder how they coordinated that, if they practiced it so that they would end at the same time. But yes, they both finish changing, pick up the sheet, and throw it on the other side of the bed at the same time. And they can't see each other, really, so that was pretty impressive. So, and Tony has to roll up those man pajamas so much because that guy is really tall. The pajamas are just huge.
They could have just given him the proper size. No one would have known.
No, it's that guy's actual pajamas. Oh, I see what you're saying. The actual act. I know, but I think it's funny that they're so big on both of them. Plus, the shirt needed to be really big on Angela. So.
Plus, this guy's so invested in them that he brought them pajamas.
Right.
Like, most hotel managers would not give a shit at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you're on your own.
Right.
You're all wet. It.
Yeah, they were not hear from them again.
Right, never again.
Oh, can we say the F word?
Oh, I don't know.
I could bleep it out. I think we can. I don't know if I have to change it to an E.
I'm getting carried away.
Listen, people, this is a family show. This is not a family podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have.
No, it's fine.
I didn't even think about it.
So Angela, they get into bed, and Angela starts giggling, and Tony wants to know why. And at first, she doesn't want to tell him, but then she's like, well, you just thought you were so cool, and you had sweaty palms. And he's all annoyed, and he's like, oh, well, okay, if I had sweaty palms, then you should know that I cut my lip on your braces.
That's right. It's like I'd come back with this.
Yeah. So she apologizes, and he says that it was worth it. So then Tony starts chuckling.
Never mind, they're talking through a blanket.
A blanket, yeah, the sheet. Or, yeah,
sheet,
blanket.
Whatever it is.
No, it is a blanket, you're right. So then Tony starts chuckling, and Angela's like, well, now you're just doing that because I did it. And he's like, you're right, but I just thought of something, and I remember that you smelled so good. And he's like, whatever perfume it was really nice. And she's like, that wasn't perfume, that was insect repellent.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's funny.
She opens the blanket, and she's like, that's so sweet because my husband never remembered our wedding anniversary, and you can remember that 20 years ago I wore bug off. So
yeah,
really,
right.
Michael could never remember their wedding anniversary?
I mean, what's wrong with you?
I know. Like,
even I can remember ours.
If anyone here is going to forget our wedding anniversary, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
But, which actually it was yesterday. But,
yes, that's true.
I mean, I guess from what we've seen of Michael, he's just a big loser. And
I know, he is.
So that makes me dislike him even more. So anyway, so Angela says, I always wondered about that boy, and I wondered if he ever thought about me. I wonder how he turned out. And Tony's like, he did think about you, and he wondered how your teeth turned out, which is great.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of like getting a little too cozy with each other at this point, and so Tony's like, we should probably go back to our rooms and go to sleep.
Right, rooms.
So they're both kind of tempted, I think, at that point to make a move, but they don't. So they close the blanket curtain again, lie back down, and right then the blanket falls to the ground. So she's like, did you touch that? And he's like, I didn't touch it. And she didn't touch it. And she's like, well, what Mother would say, that there's some sort of force trying to pull us together. Now, if anyone could get some mojo going for Tony and Angela to sleep together in a motel room, it is definitely Mona.
Yeah.
Mona's probably at that campsite right now.
Like plotting.
Yeah. Like making some little witch's brew over a campfire now that she knows that they're in the same hotel room. So, they're like, okay, well, they go to put the blanket back up, and Tony's saying, it is kind of weird that I would end up working for Ingrid after all this time. And Angela's like, it was really kind of silly that I made up that name, but Tony's like, it's fine because I also told a little lie that night. Tony says that he lied about his age because he knew that she was older than him. Yeah. And he figured if she knew that he was younger, she wouldn't want to go out with him. So he lied and said he was 13. And Angela's like, well, how much older was that?
So much for that adult kiss.
Yes.
Whatever that means.
I guess at this point, Tony and Angela have never had a discussion about how old they are because we haven't seen a Tony birthday. And we know Angela had one, but I don't necessarily know that she would have said how old she is, and he probably wouldn't have asked. So I guess she doesn't know that Tony's 2 years younger than her. So he says that he was 11, and she's now appalled that she stuck her tongue in an 11-year-old's mouth.
I mean, at least she was 13, right?
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, that's so funny. So
did they at some point say that there was a wall between this that goes beyond the sheets?
Yes. So are you looking at your notes?
Yeah.
You're too far. We're not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, wow, I don't remember that.
So, yeah. So then she's like, my first grown-up kiss was with an 11-year-old. And he's just like, he says, you weren't complaining that night because you hung in there for 57 seconds. And then she's like,
okay,
you timed
I'm
it?
sorry, that's where we're at now.
And he's like, of course I didn't time it, but Bruce Weinenberger, or something like that. Weinenberger, he had a stopwatch in the bushes. So I have heard from a Facebook group I'm in that's called Who's the Boss Resource, which is the Facebook group that goes along with a now defunct website that I've mentioned several times as a good resource. Which is in the title, for Who's the Boss Facts. And they say that Bruce Weinenberg is a family friend of Tony Danza. So that's why he's using this name here. And he's done that before with Bobby Granelli. Yeah.
Oh, you have them in your notes, the names?
Well, I just remember that one.
I love the names.
I know, yes. Oh, yes, and I did find out, I can't remember, I think there was an Anthony Camisa or something at one point that we referenced.
Camisa.
And Camisa is Tony Danza's mother's maiden name. So they think that that's where they got that one from. Okay, so now Angela's pissed because she's like, this was very special to me, and your friend was in the bushes, timing it.
Right.
And Tony thinks it's funny. He's like, this is the biggest difference between boys and girls, because girls go back and tell all your friends how romantic it was, and I went back and collected my bet because I hung in there for 57 seconds. So, like...
Yeah, right. He meant he collects the bet, and then she jumps out of bed and moves the curtain.
So, right. So now, she's yelling at him.
Not happy.
And she's like, you took a memory of two young kids and turned it into, and I love this, shabby, tawdry, and stinky.
I know. Tawdry.
And then she throws herself on the bed.
I know. But like a child. What is that when she throws? It's so weird.
And she stays down there for a bit, too. Like,
and this
her face
isn't the first time we've
bed.
seen Angela
have a tantrum like this.
Or act like a child.
Right,
have a childlike moment.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we know that Angela didn't have the best childhood. So this was probably one of those memories was good for her. And now she's finding out.
Ruined it.
Yeah.
And then,
Right. And like, and I remember that feeling when you're younger and a girl, because boys are just so immature, and they are for a long time.
Yes.
And so it's that feeling of knowing like this meant a lot to her, and for him. Nothing. But it did mean something to Tony, but no matter what it meant to him, he was still a guy, and he was going to play it off. And, he even says, like, when at first it was a bet, but that he really did enjoy kissing her, and that he really did feel something for that girl.
Which I think is probably pretty true with a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean...
Back in the day, like, you still like, whatever.
Right. Well, he's 11, too. I mean...
That's true.
He's a complete...
Which I don't.
He's a complete idiot.
I'm comparing it to my, like, 15 or 16-year-old.
Right, exactly. And even 15 and 16 was probably not much better. So...
That's what I'm saying, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Angela may want to be careful about throwing herself on the bed, because all she has on is that shirt, right?
That's true, yeah.
I don't think she's supposed to have anything else on.
Yeah.
So...
expose some things.
She goes to bed, and he asks, should I hang up the sheet? And then that's when she says, there's a wall between us that goes beyond sheets.
Yeah. That's in my notes right here.
Yeah, right, yeah. Do you have any references around that?
I don't know.
What does it actually say?
Friend was timing the kiss, had a bet with the other boys at camp, and then it jumps to, there's a wall between us that goes beyond the sheet.
Nice. Okay, so...
Something like that. My notes, they're going to be in a museum someday.
Right, yes.
My notes.
So, later that night, Angela's trying to sleep, and water starts dripping on her face. And she's like, you dirty rotten. And Tony's like, I already said I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah. And she's like, not you. There's something dripping on my face. So she's like making sarcastic jokes about him timing the drips and stuff. And then the entire ceiling caves in right above her bed.
Yep.
So now we move into there's only one bed trope. So they managed to get 2 of them in this episode. So again, back at camp, filler, the boys have put frogs and worms in his bed and a snake in his footlocker. And Jonathan's really starting to enjoy camp now.
Right. Like now he's like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's making friends. He had a use for the snake that he brought to camp, which, can you bring a snake to camp? I would think no.
I don't know, maybe.
And then that's just a little quick filler to get us back to the hotel room where Tony offers his bed to Angela. And Angela's like, I don't want your bed. I'll just sleep against the wall.
I know, like, what? What's about to happen here?
You're not a horse, Angela. You cannot sleep standing up. So he keeps offering the bed until she decides to take it. And he's like, I'll be fine. I'll just sleep in this chair. So he goes and gets a chair and puts it up against the wall. And he turns the lights off. And you notice this one, that the light switch is already off because the light switches don't control anything. So he just touches it and then a PA turns the lights off.
But like he just puts his hand there for him and then you hear this click.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't move.
No, I know. The switch is in the same position as it was when his hand got there. So Tony leans back in the chair and then falls out of the chair. When we showed our kids this episode the first time, they laughed so hard at him falling out of the chair.
Yeah, I mean it's Jack Tripper-esque.
It is very Jack Tripper-esque.
Very Three's Company when he falls in that chair.
Yes,
it's
I think
just that physical humor.
Yeah,
it worked so well back in the 80s, even now.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's funny.
Yeah.
So Angela comes over and she's like, "Oh, you fell out of the chair," which is not at all helpful for him. And he's like, "Yes, thank you." So, but they do start talking again.
But the thing is, when he falls, it looks like it hurts.
I know, it does.
His head hits the wall really hard. I was like, oh my gosh, when I saw it.
Yeah, I don't know if like they had a way to stage that or if he just went for it, but it does look like it hurts.
Whatever the wall's made of is still had to hurt.
Yeah. Hopefully they didn't have to do it too many times. So,
and then he says, I had a headache anyway.
Not yet.
Oh, shit.
So, they start talking again, and Tony's like, it was, she's like, I'm sorry that I got so upset, but it was just a very special memory for me. And Tony says that it was special to him too, and even though it started off as a bet, that, if it hadn't been special to him, he wouldn't have carved her name in the rock. So the tension is growing between them again, the good kind, not the bad kind, and he decides that he needs to go back to his chair. But Angela's like, it's okay. You can just come sleep in the bed with me. And at first he's like, in the bed? Like me? And she says, yes, because nothing's going to happen because we're both adults and because things are pretty good between us the way they are. And he agrees with that. But Angela says, although things could probably be pretty good between us the way they aren't.
Oh, that's right. I like that line, the way they aren't.
Yes. And he says they'd be great. But he thinks that, he isn't willing to take that risk in case it doesn't work out because, they really do have a lot. Like, they can't just have sex.
Right.
Because they do have a lot that's on the line here.
Right.
I mean, they've made this little pseudo family, and if they don't really have true feelings for each other and can work through whatever they would need to work through to make this a permanent situation, then, they're breaking up the kids living together, they're breaking up their situation, and so they really do have a lot on the line.
But, they've been together all these months. They know each other's personalities.
I know.
So don't you think they've already kind of fallen in love?
Yes, I do. I mean, I think, and they're going to drag this out a long time. And they're going to drag this out to the point where it kind of, jeopardizes the integrity of this relationship.
Right.
But at this point, he still doesn't think that he's really good enough for her. And that's probably the biggest issue here. So they decide that they can get in this bed together and that nothing is going to happen.
This narrow bed.
Right, this narrow bed. So they get into the bed and, she's like, okay, see, this is fine. But Tony seems like he's in a little bit of pain.
I know, he's like,
Yeah, his voice is going all high-pitched. And so that's the end of that. Now, the next morning, we're back at the cabin, and Mona and Sam are doing chores. Is this going to cut out on me? Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Sorry. It looked like we've never done a podcast this long, and it looked like GarageBand got to the end of the road, but it just kept going. Sorry.
When they're in bed together,
yeah,
that's where he says, I got a headache anyway.
Right. When they're about to get into bed together, yes. He's like, I can sleep here because I got a headache anyway.
Right, meaning,
right. Has a man ever really used the headache as an excuse?
No, not in any documented.
You can power through any headache.
Yeah. Headache, whatever.
Yeah. So the next morning.
And the other thing I've noticed is the roof has suddenly stopped leaking.
Oh, yes.
It leaked enough to make the ceiling completely cave in. And water went everywhere, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
No, and
it should have kept leaking.
Yes, I agree. But
Sorry.
no. So, I wonder if they shot that part in front of an audience. I don't even know how they would have.
I don't know either, yeah.
Okay, so the next morning, back at the cabin.
Actually, that one probably could have been, but there were a few others in this episode that couldn't have been.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Okay, so the next morning, we're back at the cabin. Mona and Sam are doing chores. Mm-hmm. It seems like they got in trouble for playing the prank on Wormser, so Mona has to clean the bathrooms. But good thing, it's nice that this cabin has bathrooms. At least they're not outhouses. So Tony and Angela show up. Angela's hair still looks nice and sexed up. And I thought they did a good job of making their clothes look like they had actually hung wet clothes up because they're like wrinkled.
Yeah, they did good all the way around.
Yeah.
The clothes were still wrinkled. Her hair was still crazy.
So Mona and Sam see them and they're like, oh, how did it go? Where'd you go? And they say, we decided to go to the rock and see what names were carved. And Mona's like, was it you guys? And Tony says, well, it was me and Ingrid. And he's like, right, Angela? And she just says yes. Yeah. She does not elaborate on who Ingrid is.
Right.
So Jonathan shows up, and now he's having a blast with these guys. He doesn't want Angela to love on him. He wants to go play, and he doesn't want to leave camp anymore.
He's all excited about camp.
Yes. And Tony says, I have a feeling something went on here last night that we don't know about. And Mona looks at them and says, I have the same feeling.
That's a great line.
So Mona and Sam leave Tony and Angela alone. And I guess they hadn't talked at all up to this point because Angela's like, that was some night last night, huh?
Right, they woke up and left the room.
Right, in complete silence. And Tony's like, yeah. And he says that he found something very important about himself, which is that he would have made a great monk.
Yes.
And then
which means he did not attack her.
Right. He was able to, I don't know if he ever actually went to sleep, but he did not attack her.
He would have made a great monk.
Right. And then he says that he also discovered something about her, and it's that she has very warm toes. But wasn't she wearing socks?
Yeah.
We saw her put socks on. So she must have taken off her socks at some point in the night and then was playing footsie with Tony. I don't know.
Or there was some weird thing where she fell into a deep sleep and he went down and started feeling on her toes. I don't know. Maybe that's an episode for another time.
Oh, dear God. Okay. Oh, that's super creepy. No.
I know. Yeah. That's not what happened, probably. Had to have been his foot.
That's the Cinemax version of this episode.
Exactly. It's the Cinemax version.
Okay. I'm going to do rating first.
Okay.
I'm going to give this one a 9 also. I probably shouldn't because the secondary storyline is so lacking, but it has so much good Tony and Angela stuff that I'm going to forgive anything else.
Yeah. That's good. It's good.
I like
that.
I feel like they picked up strong with the momentum they left off with at the end of season 1. Mm-hmm. And it definitely makes me invested in, that relationship and want to watch more.
All right. That's good. I like that. Me, on the other hand, I was so pissed off about the secondary storyline that I gave it an 8.5. No, I do an 8. I did an 8.5. 8.5.
Yeah, that's a solid rating. There's nothing to be
The only
ashamed about there.
positive thing about that secondary storyline was Mona going backwards on the horse. That's the only thing I liked.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you!
Who do you think the boss was?
It's a tough one.
It is.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely not Mona because it never is. As Mona's like a child.
We've always thought Mona was the boss, but as we're doing this, I'm realizing she's never the boss.
No. Has she ever been picked as the boss?
I don't remember.
Anyway,
I don't think so.
I'd have to go with Tony.
Okay.
And I think it's really tough because it's between Angela and Tony.
It is.
In my book.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tough for the two of them to be in that hotel room, half naked.
Right.
And not, succumb to their desires. Right. But I feel like Tony maybe was the leader or he's the boss.
Yeah.
He made it not happen in a way, I guess.
Yeah. So I agree. I did go back and forth between Angela and Tony. I feel like Angela was the one at the end that was like, okay, just get in the bed and it's going to be fine. But she also kind of left it open, like things could probably be pretty good the way they aren't. Meaning,
right, that's true.
I'm still open to having sex tonight. Right. And then he shut it down. So I think you're right. I'm going to go with Tony overall as being the boss at this one.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, if it was up to Angela, they would have had sex in season 1 for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I fully support. Go, Angela.
That's right.
You can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. Send us a direct message or comment on any of the posts, but anything that you want us to talk about on future episodes or anything that we missed. Or you can go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave a voice message. Now, we've learned that Anchor would like you to leave a 1-minute voice message, and I'm thinking that's because it's probably the easiest to fit into a podcast. So if you can keep your voice messages to 1 minute, that would be perfect. If not, a couple minutes is fine. Okay, song?
Yes, we have Darius Witherspoon performing the Who's the Boss theme song on his keyboard.
Nice.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends and give you a big pat on the back.